we are made for a time such as this. This is literally what we are here for. And you're looking at a couple of people who are equal parts rabid clinicians and passionate entrepreneurial business people, right? So you're talking to the right guys, right? So here's the framework that I feel is going to help create enormous clarity for all of you.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and Dr. Stephen Franson.
What's up, Remarkables? Welcome to another episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast, Chiropractic's #1 business podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
Hey, guys. Happy Holy Week. I don't know when you're listening to this, but it's every Friday is special because we get to be in the studio and connecting with all y'all. But this is a really special week. I love this holiday, Dr. Pete, for so many reasons, right? So what a time for us to be reminded of how much he loves us, what he did for us, and what our eternal perspective of life is, and how we get to serve this mission and being trusted with this mission field. Man, it's just invigorating, and I'm totally energized this week. I'm also excited to see my family. My boy Sam's coming home tonight. Can't wait to see Sammy boy coming back from Liberty. And then, we all pile over to my mom's house. I'm blessed that I've got this really incredible extended family. We love to spend time together. We're that family that loves each other and actually likes each other. So we're talking about maybe going to Lexington, Concord to see the reenactment of the original, the whites of their eyes battle in the battlefield in Lexington that, just was very early in the Revolutionary War. It's just an incredible story to watch that walked out and lived out. We're going to do that with our family. So, man, we've got a lot going on this weekend, and I'm going to kick it off with an awesome podcast session with you, brother.
Yeah, man, it's awesome to be together, and I'm grateful that we get to do this today. And I was thinking about our topic for today, which is the power of three, and I was just thinking about that because I think about, even if you just think about Jesus's life, what he was able to accomplish in just 3 years. Talk about the power of three. And I was thinking about that, like in 3 years, and then what he accomplished in 3 days. And, I don't know where that landed in terms of some of your inspiration, but I was inspired just thinking about the three, and there's lots more threes. But I was thinking about a picture I recently came across my feed of me with my dad and my brothers, and then our kids, our boys, all at a Yankees game. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, man, that's generations. That's 3 generations of people doing something that we love. And I was thinking about what you were talking about when we were chatting before today's recording started about what we were going to be discussing. As you know, if you've listened to us in the past, Dr. Steve and I, we get together in a studio and we get inspired throughout the week. And then we say, hey, what are you moved by? What are you inspired by? And then that's how we come up with our topics. So it's super organic. It's very raw. It's very relevant. It's very real. And it's very right now. And so, I was thinking about that and my family, and just thinking about the generations of passing on let's say rooting for a team. And I thought, man, what else can we pass on? What if as chiropractors, we could pass on health the way that, maybe we pass on rooting for a team. It's like, we pass on these traditions around holidays. We do a great job of that. Awesome. Some of us maybe haven't done as good of a job of that. Okay. But thinking about that, Dr. Stephen, I know we're going to talk about the power of three. And as a leader, what is your role in this? As a visionary, we're speaking to you as a visionary. We're speaking to you as somebody who is accountable for the vision. You're accountable to lead the team. You're accountable to prioritize what's important now, next, ultimately. And we think about ultimately, oftentimes we think about, Dr. Stephen, just in 3 years, 1 year, and then 90 days. But today we're going to expand your vision. We're going to take the visionary in you. We're going to do one of these, like, hey man, take your glasses, like, wow, like you're making me look further out. So we're going to, and then we're also going to make you not only look further out, we're going to actually make you look further in. Yeah. We're going to take you through the full scope today, Dr. Stephen. I know you're inspired here, and I'm looking forward to just jamming on this with this awesome group of listeners, which, by the way, if you're new to listening to the show, welcome to the CEO Podcast. Super pumped to have you join us. If you've been listening for Any length of time, welcome back. Just super grateful to be able to get this time with you each and every week.
Yeah, 100%. And Dr. Pete, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't remind people we're here for you, right? So I don't think we say that enough. Like, guys, we're here for you. Like, we have the privilege of working with thousands of chiropractors, right? So we have this incredible platform to reach so many chiros and hundreds of our coaching clients that we get to work with very intimately, right? So we just want to invite you into that conversation. So if this message today, or really any of our messages, resonate with you and you're like, yeah, you know what? I need help with that. Right. So, man, I would love you to walk it out and talk it out with me. We're available for you. Right. So you'll see this link down below. You can jump on our schedule. Very happy to connect with you guys. So don't hesitate to do that. Right. So just know that this is, a big purpose of this podcast is to give you lots to think about. Right. So this is a teaching opportunity for us, and teaching changes what you think. Right. So it's just like, what do you think about? What do you know? Right. So if you want to get connected to maybe work on how you think, that's a coaching conversation, and we're here for you for that. So Dr. Pete, we're talking about one of my favorite, it's a combination of two of my favorite things. Like, I love frameworks and I love clarity, right? So this is the clarity to the power of 3 framework. Oh man, it's like, this is like catnip to me. It's like, if you're a visionary, this is for you, right? So clarity to the power of 3 is a framework, and frameworks just organize our thoughts, right? So it's just so important that if you are a visionary, that, there's a process. First, you have to get clarity, right? So you've got to be super clear in your own mind. But as the vision caster, not the vision host or vision creator, you're the vision caster, you've got to be able to cast the vision, right? So that means you need to create clarity for everyone around you that you'll need to recruit into the mission, right? So, and this is a really important and treacherous step in this process, right? You might have everything crystal clear in your mind. If that's you, congratulations, right? But you've got to be able to convey it to those people that you'll need to recruit, right? So otherwise you have a job and you're just hiring a bunch of assistants around you, right? So, but if you want to recruit a world-class team, you want to mobilize that team, and you want to really truly leverage that team, if you really want to make the ascension to CEO, which is this conversation, you've got to become a vision caster. And I love what you say on this is visions are caught, they're not taught, right? So you've got to be able to cast the vision in a compelling way. It's got to be a clear and compelling casting of a vision, right? So people have got to see and feel what you're talking about, right? So it's the feel piece of it you hear me leaning in on, right? So it's got to be a clear and compelling vision, right? So ultimately, clarity is the greatest accelerant. And we know that that is true because wherever you lack clarity, there's friction slowing you down, and you are pumping the brakes, right? As a just survival mechanism, right? So when you have clarity, what do? Man, you get those legs moving and grinding. And it's just like, man, I got my eyes on the target. Let me ring the bell. Dr. Pete, I'm super stoked to have this power of 3 framework. We're going to go super high level, and we're going to zoom all the way down to PTC.
Yeah, I want to talk about the catching and not teaching. So visions are caught, not taught. So let's talk about that for a minute. So a vision is a condition of the heart more than it is the head. You have to start at the heart. We always teach the framework of it's heart, head, hands, feet. The reason why visions are caught, not taught, is because you can talk to somebody all day and it can go in one ear and out the other, and they didn't get it. You've been that person where that's happened to you. It's whether you're the speaker or you're the listener. Things are being taught, but they're not being understood. The whole idea is that your vision is something that must be caught. Otherwise, it's just in one ear and out the other, and nothing changes, right? It's the same story, different day. And like you said, Dr. Stephen, the tale of the owner operator, what we found is one of the dysfunctions, the common dysfunctions of a leader that creates, just breaks down and keeps you in this stuck as an owner operator in the job, is that you own your vision, you know it, but you're the only one. And it is a dead end road. There's nowhere you can go beyond that. You have to, until you are able to recruit or share your vision and recruit people, and they have clarity and they understand, then you're still going to be unequally yoked. You're still going to feel like you're carrying this thing on your back, and technically you are. And so it's a thing where, Dr. Stephen, if we think, well, I want to think about the scorecard and the KPIs around the scorecard. That's what's going to help me feel like I delegated the business. I'm just going to say this right now. That comes later. if they don't have the vision first, then they're just going through the motions, trying to do the actions on their scorecard. That's also not this. That is not it either. It's so important that we recruit and we surround ourselves with people who have caught the vision. We talk about getting the right people in the right roles, right work, right way. This is about the right person. This is that first thing we got to get right is, do they buy into your vision story? Buying literally to me is like, where's your wallet? Like, I'm going to pay for that because I want to be a part of that. That's the energy exchange. Like, I'm going to put in my limited resources, my time, my energy, my focus, my gifts, my talents to see us go and achieve that thing, that outcome, which I'm sure you're going to experience this weekend when you go with your family to that Revolutionary War experience. It's like people bought in. You know what they bought in with? Their life. They saw something that they were willing to die for, so that people they never even were going to have never met would have a potential to have something that they see that would be possible. That's vision. Who would do that? Who would lay their life down? You have to have a vision. So Dr. Stephen, this is the most important thing. It's the first side of the Rubik's Cube. It's the first side when you go all the way around to hit the top again. It's still the first side. It keeps staying at the top. It's always where we start. So this is a visionary conversation today, and there couldn't be a more important time in our history or even a day that we could be recording than today.
100%. So let's share this framework. And this is a framework that we both use, and we continue to refine. Let's face it. Like, so guys, we just so you know that we are not pontificating from the mountaintop. Okay. So you're talking to two guys that are in the trenches, going and growing. Like, when we talk about team meeting on Monday, raise your hand if you're going to be at the team meeting on Monday. it's like, yeah, there'll be team meeting on Monday, right? So when we're talking about the scoreboard and the scorecards and the KPIs, it's like, yeah, well, yeah, guys, we are full on in the throes of this, right? So all of the marketing challenges and the team challenges and the conversion and the retention churn rate challenges that you guys are fighting. Yeah, raise your hand. It's like, so guys, we are in the thick of it, right? And we are stoked because we are made for a time such as this. This is literally what we are here for. And you're looking at a couple of people who are equal parts rabid clinicians and passionate entrepreneurial business people, right? So you're talking to the right guys, right? So here's the framework that I feel is going to help create enormous clarity for all of you as to how to get your head around this future pacing and vision casting that is your role in the village, right? So first we start with like a 3-generational perspective. And I want you to underline the word perspective. Okay. So we're going to give you some power words here. You know how we're wordsmithing things. Words matter, right? So do you have a 3-generation perspective? Okay. So perspective is an enormous word, right? It is literally the filter, right? It's the lens through which you look at all things, right? So do you have a 3-generation perspective, right? So let's get away from navel gazing as to, how does this impact me in this moment? Because that's your lizard brain, right? That's lower brain, lower level thinking. Visionaries, we have a fiduciary responsibility and a moral obligation to have a 3-generation perspective. Okay. So we need to be thinking back 3 generations and forward 3 generations. And Dr. Pete, I know you do this so innately inside your family, but let's talk about how it happens in your family. It also happens in your practice with the families that you get to take care of. And then also, when it comes to, looking at chiropractic as a profession, right? So it was like, and where are you in this season of the chiropractic profession? Because you're part of that story, right? So the larger story of chiropractic, right? So first, when it comes to like 3 generations, it's easy to think back and be like my grandparents, my parents, and then my siblings and myself and my spouse. Then we have our kids, and we'll have our grandkids, right? And our great kids, like having this 3-generation perspective, looking back and looking forward. It creates a dimension of consideration. Like when you're just like, listen, I've got a legacy that I have been privileged to, right? So it's just like, I've inherited this good, bad, and the ugly, right? So it's all come down to this point, and I'm just so grateful that all of the challenges and all the failures and all the stresses and struggles that my grandfather went through and my father went through. And I'm just going to go on the male side of things right now. And that shaped me to be the person from a genetic perspective, but also just as a, from my core values and my vision story. It's just like, I understand that there's a responsibility that comes with that. Right. So, and then that legacy just passes on from my generation to my kids' generation. And I'm thinking about their kids. Right. So there's a dimension to that, Dr. Pete. And I try to make my decisions in my faith walk and my marital life, the relationships, how I speak to my kids and how do I speak to my spouse and how I do my financial walk, right? And what I choose to invest in, like all of these things, my physical health, right? So it's just like, I have an obligation because I know that I'm imprinting on my kids and my kids' kids. It's a 3-generation perspective, Dr. Pete.
I think it's the most important thing. One of the things that I know my father-in-law, he taught me early on, I remember he said, you have to have an eternal perspective. And I was like, whoa. That really gave me a completely different framework when I started thinking about things from like forever. It's like, wow. And that's where I've always started with was like, well, if you start with an eternal perspective, like forever, like that actually does change the way you show up in the present. If you retain an eternal perspective, if you see it from eternity, if you see it from forever, which is where I come from, that's my perspective. That's the seed that's been planted in me. And that's the thing that so that's the first thing is I try to give my kids a perspective of, you have to look at this world as the way it's going to be, like where you're going to be forever, but also where your children are going to be, and so from a spiritual perspective, from an earthly perspective, like thinking about every part of that matters, from the way that the spouse that you choose, if you choose to get married, if you go down that path, like that's going to be a major component of your journey and your story, and what path you choose to go professionally, even though I do know that there's going to be there's more turns in that journey, that's going to happen just throughout your life. So that's I'm less concerned about that, but I want them they're fulfilling what their calling is. But you have to have a perspective of, that you're going to be passing your imprinting on the next generation. And so for me as a chiropractor, it's in my office, it's always been, you are a patient here now, but it's not just about you, right? So your family, they need to be under regular care. So if they don't live here, we'll find them a chiropractor wherever the cities are that they live in. And then the goal would be that once those children, they get under regular chiropractic care, make sure your parents, if they're still alive, your older siblings, your aunts and uncles that are ahead, let's get them under care. So we want to see the whole family get under care. And I love that picture of you with your dad, you and your son. It was like this awesome, cool picture. I love the scene around
and
the
my
table.
grandfather
and his dad and your grandpa. Yeah, there was this cool picture you show sometimes at our events. And it's like, that's it right there. It's like, that's up and then down. And then from Sam, it's like, who's the next one? Let's say, staying with the males, like you said, if I see, okay, when Sam has a child and he's getting adjusted, it's like, wow, like, look at that. That's the generations moving. And that's the way we need to approach our businesses. Like, if you just think about, okay, think about the graceful and profitable exit. The graceful and profitable exit says this, that every person and family, that there are generations of families that live in my city who deserve to continue with regular chiropractic care, even if I have to move to the next step in my journey. For example, if I was called to sell and exit, which all of you at some point, hopefully you can do it on your terms, and you can exit gracefully and profitably. But your mindset, the idea of a graceful and profitable exit says this, so that the families who are staying in my city, who we take care for, when I'm not here, continue to get the care, the same high level of care, hopefully even higher level of care than even I was able to deliver, and that the message will continue to be distributed into the marketplace so that we continue to help the next generation, that even in your exit, you're thinking about setting it up for the next generation. So who you choose as your successor, how you go through the transition, the passing of the baton, all of that is so, so critical in how you approach an exit, how you approach who you bring on as you enter into the season of scale from build. The associate I chose, why? I aligned with the right philosophical associate, the right communication. They share our core values. Why? Because we're thinking generationally. We're thinking bigger.
That's right.
And that's the thing where, Dr. Stephen, this starts, because every decision you make in the now has to have a view of the next and the ultimately generationally, this way and that way, and realizing that it's in today, whether it's your finances, your spiritual journey, your business, your health. My choices this morning affect my life in the generations to come, how I took care of my spiritual health, my physical health, my mental health this morning, and for generations to come.
That's
that
right.
Perspective changes everything.
That's right. Man, I remember just the conversation that I had with Sam, because Sam had already told me he wanted to become a chiropractor. Oh my gosh, it's like, I hate saying that out loud because I just don't want to put that undue stress on him. But, the reality is, when he was a kid, he used to be hanging out in the clinic and he wanted to be a chiropractor, right? So I know that in his mind, what that meant was he was my successor. It's just like, all right, I'm going to wheel the old guy down the hall and let him practice out back. That's adorable. Like, we'll keep him around and then I'll take over. I mean, that would be awesome, But when I told him, listen, I'm being called to coach. I want to do what we're doing on a scale of 1,000 times what we're doing. And I know that that's where God's got me going. Right. So I'm groomed for that. Let's multiply this. Right. And he kind of looked at me kind of in shock and all, like, wait a minute, I was going to take over this. And it was, Dr. Ryan taking over our practice. And I looked at him and I was it was a bit of a proud papa moment, but at the same time, I'm like, oh man, he's a little like, wow, I didn't see that coming. And I said to him, well, at one point Ryan's going to need a successor. And he's like, oh yeah, because he loves Ryan. I'm like, by the time you're ready, Sam, he's going to be ready. He's going to be looking for that. And he was like, oh, okay. So he was okay with that. It was like immediately a 3-generation conversation. It was like, and I'm like, I want to build it so that not only Ryan is so successful with it, taking it over, but then it would continue with that same momentum and consistency of excellence all the way to Sam taking it over. Right. So, that's a vision that they caught. Right. So it's that's the idea of like a 3-generation perspective, everything you do. So then we go into our 3-decade story. Right. So, I used to talk about like this 10-year vision story about, you know what? I think it's a 3-decade story. So we've gone to the 3-generation perspective to a 3-decade story, like just being able to tell a story of, this is how I foresee success now walked out. Like, if I'm on purpose and I'm serving my mission, this is what my vision is for the next 3 decades. Right. So the next 30 years, it's going to look something like this. Now, if you're early in your career, you might be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to spend the next 10 years just going and growing and building and go. And the second, that next decade, it's going to be all about creating this amazing scalability, and I'm going to create durability and optionality, and my role will change inside of that role. And maybe I'll focus more on clinical, or maybe I'll focus more on CEO, whatever your optionality tells you want to do, whatever you're called for. And then that third decade might be, hey, yeah, this is going to be my sunset season, right? So I'm going to go part-time because I want to do some teaching at the school, or I want to do some speaking or write a book or whatever it is. Guys, start thinking about like these 3 decades and create some level of clarity, Dr. Pete, because we should be pulled by our vision.
Yeah.
Remember, we're pushed by our purpose.
Yeah.
But you can't just be pushed by your purpose.
Yes.
Think about that, guys. So many are on purpose chiropractors. Like, we talk to chiropractors every day, especially those that are 15, 25, 35 years in practice. They're still pushed by their purpose, but they don't have a vision that's pulling them. Mm-hmm. Right. And I don't know about you, Dr. Pete, but when I'm only firing on one of 2 cylinders like that, you're more likely to exhaust that first cylinder.
Yeah, you will. That is the recipe for burnout. I love the quote that says, as your vision decreases, fatigue increases. If you find yourself growing tired or weary lately, check your vision. That's just something I like to say. It's, check in with yourself and where you're at. And if you found yourself, like you said, Doc, if you're pushed by that purpose, which thankfully purpose pushes us, which is a beautiful thing. It's its role, it's its function. That's right. But it's not designed to function alone. You got to have both feet on the pedals. You got to have both of the pedals turning. You got to have the vision function with the purpose function. And that's where you create the energy, and that's how things begin to move. And so this is that. So you're accountable. This goes back to accountability. Like, I am accountable. You're accountable for your vision. the vision you have for your life, the vision you have for your family, the vision you have for your health. And so the 3-decade visions, the 3-decade story is really powerful because, I'm seeing this now with chiropractors coming out, graduating and finishing school, and the influence of the culture and everything of today. It's like, I don't know if a lot of docs have that long vision. I feel like a lot of people have lost it. And even just getting them back to starting with like, hey, let's just start with a 3-year vision. That's like transformative. It's like, wow. So which is a great place to go. You got to start somewhere. Like, let's just do 3 years. But if you look at it as 3 decades, how much different would you be able to show up on Monday if you were thinking in terms of this decade, the next decade, and the next decade? If you were thinking in terms of decades, like think about, would you be more patient potentially for those of you who are low patience? What about, would you be willing to work on some areas of your business that maybe you are low conformity, but maybe you need to get some things in order and you need to get some ducks in a row? Maybe there's some details we haven't been paying attention to, we need to pay attention to. And how would you cultivate the relationships with your team? How would you engage with the people in the community that you serve? What would that be if you knew you had a decade approach? And not to take it easy, but to be intentional and feel that pull, because when you have that pull and that push, but if you lack one of them, you could have this big vision, but no push, nothing happens. Right. You can have this push, no pull, and yeah, you're pushing, but man, that's a recipe for burnout. It's these two come together and they create this activation energy. There's this tension there. And it's in that tension of pulling and pushing that I always say, like, it's inside of that pressure. That's where the diamonds are. That's where the pressure gets formed. It's inside of that. And you have to live in that tension as a leader. And then you leveraging that energy. So what, a 3-decade view, the next 2 decades, and this decade, and my purpose. So important, Doc, to have that, because that is the energy, that's the activation energy that's required for movement.
No pressure, no diamonds, man. I just love that. I love that. And and it should feel like a positive pressure, right? So it's like, because you're going to have pressure, right? So as an entrepreneur, you're going to experience pressure. That's, nobody gets out of this game without experiencing pressure, right? So the pressure is either going to come from problem whack-a-mole, or it's going to come from the creative process, right? So, I've been telling myself this story. I've had the opportunity to be interviewed, just many times over the years, right? So, and for years, you get the same question. Like when you're interviewed on a podcast like this, what have you, or on a stage or whatever. It's always an honor to be interviewed. But a question that I'll often get is, because we talk about successful, I was like, what is your definition of success? Right? So, and I got stumped on that a couple of times, because I want to be careful, right? Not to project on people, because both of us suffered from that, right? Both of us benefited from it and suffered from it. So I'm like, how can we just have people take away the benefit, right? So I can tell you I'll be careful not to tell you what success looks like for you, because it's highly personal, but I can tell you what it looks like for me. When I close my eyes, in this life, is I can see success for me is being able to watch the sunrise and watch the sunset every day with my family on the porch of our beach house. And I'm intentional about every part of that I said. Okay. So, as a man of faith, I just appreciate the sunrise and the sunset. For me, that's a grounding time. It's time with God. And it just is the perfect way to start and end every day. It's just like, how can you deny it? Right. So I love the sunrise and I love the sunset. I always say the first 3 hours of the day, last 3 hours of the day. This is my favorite windows. So I want to be able to watch the sunrise and watch the sunset. I used to say that at a time in my life when I was getting in my car at 5 a.m. every single morning, 6 days a week, and bombing an hour, because I lived in a different state from where I practice. I would bomb down in the dark and get to the practice for huddle, which was at 6:15. So we could start seeing patients at 6:45 a.m. And then I would leave. Last patient was 6:45. So I'd leave at 7 o'clock at night, 7:15 at night, and get home for 8:15. So what you can hear me say is I was leaving in the dark and getting home in the dark, right? So this was a guy who was missing sunrise and sunset. So that's where that anchor came from. And I wanted to be with my family, which would imply that we had control of our schedule. Like this is what, for me, it's like having real freedom is freedom to choose to what you're doing at any given time with who you're doing it with. Right. So having that and being able to do that from our beach house, because I'm a surfer, I'm a beach guy, I grew up on the beach, and I just absolutely love being on the ocean. Right. So as materialistic as that sounds, that's for me, that's been an important anchor for me, right? To pull me forward, that vision story. And, we've been blessed here recently. We bought a beach house last year, a year and a half ago now. It'll be 2 years this September. Time flies, right? So what an incredible blessing. And we're in the throes of designing a beach house to be built there. It's a cottage now. It's a very cute cottage. We're going to build a dream house there, right? So why am I saying that? Because that vision story is captured in a blueprint that has got such microscopic detail on it that there'll be a team of 50 people that will have to look at that blueprint and know exactly what to do. Whether you're an engineer or you're the architects have laid out a plan for the engineers, the guys who are pouring forms, the guys who are framing, the people that would be doing the finished cabinetry. Every single detail is on that blueprint. And it'll mobilize an entire army of people to build a house. And it's been a 3-year process, start to piece. This is like, when I look at that, by the time we are able to walk into that house, it's going to be a 3-year process. We had a 3-year vision. And I'm asking you guys, do you have that type of detail for your life? Mm-hmm. Like, we have it rolled up in a tube with blueprints that tell a whole army of people exactly what to do and exactly what success looks like. And that blueprint, that vision captured that way, is going to tell everybody exactly what success looks like. And when you think about the infinite number of behaviors and activities that's going to drive, and the amount of investment of time, energy, focus, and money, it's staggering. And that's a house. My question is do you have a 3-year vision for what success looks like for your life?
It's good. It's, I know everybody's just sitting right now, whether you're in your car or you're on the treadmill, you had to pull over to the side and really think about it. Because the reality is, I think it's convicting that the level of detail might be lacking. And this is more hopefully a conviction for you, something that will convict you and challenge you to say, you know what, I need to, for some of us, it's pull back out the vision story. It's been too long. I need to dust it off. Some of it's I ran out of my vision story. It's been years since I've gotten to it. I need to get back to it. Some of you are in the thick of it because you've been diligently focused on it and you're doing it. And you're like, yeah, doc, you're speaking my language. You're speaking into my listening. I got this right now. I'm on the journey. Wherever you find yourself, we want to simply encourage you. You've got to have that 3-year vision. And then, Dr. Stephen, once you have that 3-year vision, that's going to energize you and organize your energy and focus around the 3-month action plan. Because if you know what's on the blueprint and you know what needs to happen in the next 3 years, then you know what needs to happen in the next 90 days, the next 3 months. And so you can organize and what we would say prioritize what are the most important things that must get done in the next 90 days. We like to say that you underestimate what you can accomplish in a year, you overestimate what you can accomplish in a week. So we organize the effort, energy that we do, the work, into 90 days, because then it gives you the actual breathing room to get it done the right way. There's time to figure it out and there's time to get it done. A lot of us don't get the figure out time enough, or we don't get the get it done part enough. You got to give yourself room for both the figuring it out stages and the getting it done stages, the plan, the prepare, the execute, right? The assess, report, like the appear process. We apply that in every stage of the journey. Well, you apply it here. When you look at your 3-month action plan, what are the things that we're specifically prioritizing, organizing around our domains of our business or the areas of your life? If you're thinking about your personal life, what is that 3-month action plan? We organize that. And then we get to work. We get to through the stages of planning, and then we prepare, and then we execute. That's getting it done. So you've got to look at your business, your life. You don't just stop at the 3 years. In other words, you then take that 3 years and you harness that energy into the next 9 days. And then what's amazing here is then you can deploy that to an amazing group of people who have caught your vision, who have been recruited and are in, and they're looking for like, hey, tell me, I got my tools. Like, tell me, where do I need to go to dig? Like, where do I got to hammer some nails in? Where do I got to put some boards up? Where do I need to put some flooring down? Like, what do I need to do? And everybody can go, including you, and get to working on the thing you need to do. That's the 3-month action plan. That comes from the 3-year vision, which comes from the 3-decade story, which comes from the 3-generational perspective.
100%. All right. So let me put a bow on this. Okay. So I can wrap it up because we'll zoom out of it, but right now let's zoom right in. Right. So we zoomed all the way out and we talked about a 3-generational perspective. Then we zoomed and we talked about a 3-decade story. Be able to tell your 3-decade story. Then there's the 3-year vision. And the 3-year vision is, this is what success looks like to me 3 years from now. And that should be blueprint detail so that you can make decisions and action and you can mobilize your resources to make that a reality. Once you have that 3-year vision, you go into your 3-month action plan. And that 3-month action plan has to be created in such a way you've got eyes on that 3-year vision. Right. So, okay. So these are the things that we need to do now over the next 3 months, over the next 90 days to make that a reality. Then you zoom in and you say, okay, so based on that 3-month action plan, I want to have a 3-week schedule. Like, Dr. Pete, I don't know about you, but I just get so stressed out when people can only think about what are we doing today and this week, right? They have this weekly, they operate weekly. And next thing you know, it's like, oh man, I don't have time to do that this week. Or I don't know if we can get that meeting in this week, or maybe I'll get it done by the end of the week. Like, people do that to themselves. It's like, no, open that up. Right? So as the CEO, you're taking a 3-year view of your business. You take a 3-week view of your schedule book. And I mean, it's just like, you have like the ability, I use my assistant to schedule out, and I look 3 weeks out, because Dr. Pete, what I find is that if you like take the pressure off of let's get together this week, right? Because now it's urgency, right? So versus it's important. So let's get it on the calendar in a way that we can find the ideal time. We'll have opportunities to prepare for that meeting or for that event or initiative, right? So if you start opening yourself up to this 3-week view, it takes that angst and that anxiety and that rushing, right? So it's like, you want to do everything with a level of urgency, but don't rush, right? So you don't have to fabricate stress, right? So plot that out 3 weeks out. So now you get to see, you look ahead 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and now you understand that what you have here is a calendar that has some breathing room and some margin in there so that you can prepare. And then once you have that down, now it's like, okay, so now let's zoom in again. And let's have a 3-day list of objectives and priorities, right? So this is your agenda, right? So over the next 3 days, these are the most important things that happen. Like, if you're not crystal clear on that, guys, you're not thinking like a CEO, right? It's not like, oh, this has to be done. Oh, shoot, I forgot to do that. Or, oh man, I'm already behind on this. I'm late on that. I'm not going to get that done. You can't live like that, right? So you have to say, over the next 3 days, these are the highest priorities, right? So, and you got to be super clear on this. Like, this is the kind of thing that you're like, yeah, I don't go to bed today until this is done. All right. So these are the priorities. I'm going to start here. I'm going to eat that frog, right? This is going to be the most important thing I get done today. So it's going to happen first, right? So these are my priorities, right? These are the objectives over 3 days. And then I zoom in again and I'm like, okay, here I am. It's Friday. I've got my before lunch time. I've got my between lunch and dinner time, and I got my between my dinner time and bedtime, right? So it's like, I love the 21-day week. I try to get 3 days in every day, right? So 3-hour checklist and to-do list. In this block of time, what am I going to be doing? I already know what my priorities are. And the priorities are a reflection of my action plan. My action plan is a reflection of my vision story, right? So it's like, I have just dialed this in as like, hey, I just look at my calendar and I've already blocked the time. And whatever I blocked my time for, I've committed my focus. And that's a reflection of what I decided is on my to-do list based on my priorities and my objectives. And then, Dr. Pete, I would be remiss if I didn't give a tip of the hat to John DeMartini, Dr. John, who taught us about present time consciousness. And it's like, and then every 3 minutes or 3 seconds or whatever's necessary for you, just check in and say, am I present? Am I present? Because ultimately it's all about focus, right? So CEO knows the truth. It's focus that takes busyness and turns it into productivity.
Please stick around for more business insights from this week's bonus interview with our remarkable success partner, dedicated to helping you more successfully help more people. Enjoy. All right, guys. So Dr. Pete Camiolo here. Happy to be in the studio with my friend and somebody I've gotten to know over the years. She's been a a wonderful supporter of the Remarkable Practice over several years now, Joe Hagan from Wealth Colony. Joe, so glad to have you on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me. And today we're going to talk about wealth. We're going to talk about wealth building. We're going to talk about money strategies. We're going to talk about what's new and what's happening here in this world. It's 2025, and it's great to be connecting with you. So maybe just take a minute or two for our audience. Some might know you. Many might not know who you are. So
Right.
give us a little insight. Tell us a little about who you are, and then I've got some more things I'd love to talk to you about today.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Pete, for having me here as a guest on your podcast. About myself, first and foremost, I like to say I'm a present husband and dad. I have 5 kids. That's my why, right? And I'm halfway through the whole, Groundhog Day with, we were talking earlier, my middle daughter going into college next year. And professionally, I started out of college years ago on Wall Street, being the dinosaur stockbroker. And somewhere along the line, you saw that whole model changing, right? Because now it's like, why do you want to pay someone to do a trade for you or handle things that you can do on your own, right? There's a lot of, Charles Schwab was $10 and now it's $0 at Robinhood. All of that you saw coming. But most importantly, I got indoctrinated into the blockchain. I didn't buy it enough at Bitcoin when it was like, $1, $5. And I've watched for almost 15 years now since I've been involved in it, Pete. Bitcoin went from something only drug dealers use to only small companies use to only small countries use. Now Wall Street, and now they just started the digital asset summit because the White House has a crypto czar. What I've been doing is I've been learning a lot from folks way above my intellectual pay grade. And I try to take that and demystify it to my ecosystem of friends and family that are just growing. Hey, here's how to use it. Here's how to trade it. Here's something you might want to consider investing in. But above all, when I talk to people about what the future is, because I like to say your grandkids are going to laugh at you and say, wait, you put your money in a bank, really? Like you gave them like like they borrowed your money and it wasn't guaranteed. And it's all about peer to peer and everything's going on the blockchain and they're going to grow up with it. Same way that our kids don't know cursive now because they grew up with an iPhone, right? Decentralized finance, educating people on why it's important, what's at stake for not knowing it, and really how to use it in your business besides your professional or personal life. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
and I'm really interested in that, and I sense that on my side, just with my own kids, just talking about, very practically, like the days that I had a pager when I would get texted from my boss or paged by my boss, and I'd have to go find a phone and call them back and find out what the heck was going on because, they paged me into work or something was going on the job and I need to find out more. I remember, I talk like that to my kids and, how the first cell phones were and, what we used to watch we had like 4 or 5 channels on television, and if it wasn't on, you didn't get to watch it. If you missed the Giants game, it was over. You wasn't watching replay. There was no way to fast forward. There was no, like we talk like this and it's dinosaurs, but that's what you're talking about is what it's going to be for in the banking and the money and the finance world. And I've been following you for years now. And I love reading your emails and all the things you send out and keeping your people informed and educated, which is a big part of what we teach in chiropractic, that our job is to educate and adjust our patients, right? And you do the same thing. I know you're a big believer in educating your people, being educated. Can you talk a little about, we talk about a job of a CEO is to solve problems, a business is to solve problems for another person, right? So your business, what specifically, like you work with chiropractors, you work with doctors, you work with a lot of people, but you specifically are working in our space, serving chiropractors. Talk to me a little about what are the challenges that you're seeing chiropractors face and how are you helping them in this space specifically with the work you guys are doing?
Yeah, thank you. First, friends in the space that introduced me to you guys at TRP, like-minded, entrepreneurial. My family, none of us, took the vaccine. All of these things come alive. My daughters, my other kids that have played sports, we believe in, getting adjusted and being, competitive and all those things. So one of the things I learned along the way was just enlightening them on what I learned on projects that really were impactful, and you can see like, okay, not something I'm reading about. If you can educate me and help me understand it, let me make money. So we help people understand originally a couple of years ago how to go open a Coinbase account. Don't be scared. Don't listen to the corporate media that's telling you to take a vaccine. They're the same ones that are telling you that Bitcoin is a scary word. It's not. Okay. They weren't invested in it. And they needed to get invested in it. So they wanted to scare the retail people away. But at the same time, the technology, it's like, imagine you being a college student or a chiropractor running a business and not having Office, using a typewriter and whiteout. Like, that's the next step. And if I can help people understand using the blockchain or using different things to enhance their business. And one of the things I will tell you for chiropractors, they get it. I see them very active on social media. So there's a lot of things that we can do, that you can do once you get educated. But if I could just talk about one thing, it's every billion-dollar brand has a rewards program. Why don't you? Right? So what do you mean? I'm not Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. I'm Dr. Pete or Dr. Smith. And at the end of the day, it's like, yes, but if you understand Web3 and Web3 marketing and blockchain, it's not about transactions. It's not about buy 9 cups of coffee, get your 10th one free. It's about driving customer, in your case, chiropractor case, patient engagement. The more they're engaged, the more office visits, the more patient retention, the more they tend to spend, the more they tend to share. So if you could take the blockchain, all these things, if you want certain behavior that you want to reward from all of your patients, will happily do it because they love Dr. Peter, they love Dr. Stacy, right? You could run a rewards program that has been proven. The reason why every brand does it that has money is it boosts customer retention, profitability, and really everything you want to do in that space is customer patient engagement. So now you can take something and put it in a smart contract, which we would show you can show you how to do it. It's not rocket science unless you make it rocket science. You take, okay, if you retweet something that I tweeted, if you join this group, if you write a testimonial, if you do these things, now my efforts on social media that I'm already doing, which is called Web2, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X, right?
Yep.
They get exponentially exploded. And now you bring in more people that are interested in learning more about your services, and you drive more and more patient engagement. That makes sense?
No, I love that. I love that idea. To your point, this is what the billion-dollar companies are doing. In our programs, we teach concepts of how to run, a remarkable business. We talk about building a remarkable practice, and we talk about then scaling it into a remarkable business. And what we're doing is we're learning from what are the bigger successful businesses? What are they doing? What are the best practices? What have all of the people that have gone before us learned through trial and error, through blood, sweat, and tears, through a lot of money, and how do we apply it? And this is a great example of a rewards program which drives engagement, as you said, and engagement is a prerequisite for all the other things we desire, whether there's referrals, it's retention, it's results or revenue. All that's directly connected back to an engaged audience, which is powerful. You talked about one of the things you said was, how easy it is. You educate people on how to open a Coinbase account. Talk about that, for example, for like chiropractors and what you're doing for them, maybe even for their staff. Are you guys including any of this in, let's say, if I hire a team and you want to build this into the team benefits for being a part of our team? And are you doing anything on that side in terms of, what separates us apart? How do you differentiate yourself in the marketplace? Why would somebody come work for you versus, let's say, somebody down the street? Are you doing anything with that too, with the chiropractors? These are small business owners that are competing for A-level talent in the marketplace. Is there anything there that you're doing there, Joe, as well?
Yeah, as far as teaching you how to set up and trade, and get some trade alerts that make sense. I mean, that was so 2021, right? What happened was we got hit with a crypto winter in 2022, and then we learned from guys like Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz. They're like the biggest mentors of Silicon Valley, of just how bad the Biden administration was to crypto specifically. And they were on Joe Rogan. They're talking about on their podcast, and everybody was scared to talk about that until the election came. And then they came out. Now everybody's building. You've got cryptos are. You've got clarity and regulations. Now it's easy to say, hey, Pete, remember that thing I was telling you was going to come out for chiropractic a couple of years ago? How come it's not out yet? Watch that podcast. You'll realize that these companies, like, you can bring fentanyl across the border, you can rob a car, grand theft auto. That's okay. lawlessness like that is okay. But if you're an MIT or a University of Chicago kid that wants to build some cool blockchain application, right, and innovate, you're the bad guy, and you're going to get debanked. You're going to get an SEC Wells notice. Like it was just wild how they all came out talking about it. So there's a frenzy now of building and moving forward because the technology is that great. Where it applies to chiropractors for me would be, all right, they have this revolution chain that it really is the new rebrand of the old product we used to talk to you about. Okay,
Yep.
they just went bigger. And Revolution is a L2 chain. What does that mean? That means it's a layer 2 that lays right on top of Ethereum. Imagine if you're driving down a highway, right? And and you just want to get in the easy pass lane and not pay more for it, actually save you money. Layer 2 lets you do transactions cheaper and faster in a certain space. Coinbase came out with Base. Evolution is really for the creator economy. And how is a chiropractor a creator? Well, I don't know. I know a lot of chiropractors sell supplements. I buy some that I take, in order to stay healthy. Maybe you start an affiliate promote program and you have it run, and everybody that is your patient or customer becomes an affiliate. And you just build this beautiful model. By the way, you spend enough time taking care of your patients. Doesn't You got to set it up and let it forget it because it's built into a smart contract on the blockchain. It's completely transparent. All the accounting and payments and everything is done in real time, real settlement. So that some of the things that you're already doing, you talked about learning from other practices in the past and make them remarkable. You never had the blockchain. So you could
Right.
take some of those lessons, and if you could take this new tool, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to have, typewriter and whiteout. I got this thing called, I can copy and paste and all the file saving, all the other stuff Microsoft Office does. This is just another level. It takes out middlemen in every way. And when you flip the middleman and take it out of the equation on its head, the profitability and the scalability just goes to another level. And if you're, like I said, running something for like a chiropractor, it would be okay. You can invest in it. Like you could have bought Microsoft when it first came out, or you could have bought Apple when it first came out with the iPad and the iPhone and all that stuff, and you would have made a lot of money. So there's discussions there where you may want to invest, but how to use these products to really make your practice more efficient is the discussions we have. And yeah, we have coaches, a couple of coaches here that are partners. And we're teaching them, like, for right now, we have a way for them to, get on this network. It's free. If you get in early, you get rewarded. And when it goes live, you'll have access to all kinds of ways to utilize that network, test it out, and say, you know what, this makes sense to me. I got the aha moment. Yes. And then if you start using it, like I said, it's literally something that I believe um, could be as common as liking and following and all the stuff that you can do on the network. And like I said, have it running, and it's running for you, and it's not taking away from your bandwidth. Spend some time and think about it. Whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you set it up, you let it run. You don't have to watch it. That's the beautiful part about it. Literally, a set it and forget it product. And we have another company that we invested in that has a 7-year, just separate from the Revolution chain, that has a separate AI that trades the market for you. And it has more than a 7-year track record, right, of literally outperform the S&P index. And the guy that runs the AI has been way ahead of all these Johnny come lately AI companies that are coming out there. He used to manage $8 billion for Deutsche Bank, and he's the expert that has trained the AI for machine learning. And and literally, it's really easy to use. It's like conservative, aggressive, moderate. That is what we learned on the other Dr. Crypto Pro product that we had. That it was great when the market was great, but to really trade it, you had to learn how to trade. Where most people that we spoke with just wanted to set it and forget it. So you have AI that's helping you navigate markets like the one we have today, down 1,000. That's less worry you have to have on the markets, and your investing is in good hands and more money, more time. Ever. So there's a couple of different ways that we help people do that. And you can set up a coaching call with me or Matt or one of my team and just kind of walk through that wherever your interest may lie.
It's good. So with that, you've piqued my and I'm sure a lot of others' interest. What would be the next step then to get on a call with you, Matt, one of your people? What's the next step? How do people learn more, take a next step?
Yeah, I would say I write articles every day and see what piques your interest on LinkedIn. Joseph Hagan, comma blockchain enthusiast. One of my favorite people told me that in my title years ago, and I get really good engagement. People message me all the time there. And while you're there, before you message me, you can read a couple of articles. Oh, wow, that one makes sense. Maybe this is something that I want to learn how to do more. Or just email me at joe@wealthcolony.com. That's my email. And LinkedIn is Joseph Hagan, blockchain enthusiast.
Beautiful. You guys heard it here. So check out Joe and read his stuff. I love reading your stuff. You always put out great content, great information, make it really easy to understand for people that are maybe not operating in this space. So check out Joseph Hagan on LinkedIn at Blockchain Enthusiast, and also joe@wealthcolony.com. Also, you can find Joe. If you come to our immersion events, you'll see Joe or somebody from his team usually represented at the event. So stop by the booth and say hello to them as well. But Joe, thanks for taking the time to be here. Thanks for being a supporter of the Remarkable Practice, which is chiropractic. And our goal is to help more chiropractors become more successful, which means they're helping more people. And that means we're making a bigger impact in this world, which is something that you're doing as well. So thanks for being a great supporter of our movement and our work. We appreciate you. And thanks for taking the time to be with me here today.
Likewise, pleasure to be here as always.
Hey Remarkables, Dr. Stephen Franson here. Are you ready to take your practice systems to the next level? Grow your practice, increase your profits. Would you like to have your team immersed in a high energy, inspiring environment where they're trained and skilled up in the complete TRP system? I've got great news. It's that time of year again. It's time for the Remarkable Conversion and Retention Immersion. It only happens one time a year in the US and once in Australia. June 6th and 7th in Orlando, and June 27th and 28th in Sydney, Australia. In this comprehensive training on the complete Remarkable Practice Building System, we cover everything. Day 1, 2, 3, 4, week 1, 2, 3, 4, month 1, 2, 3, 4, year 1, 2, 3, 4, and beyond. Patient conversion and retention. We cover the entire system. What would it feel like to see more of your new patients eagerly starting care and then happily following your recommendations for care? They stay under care because they want chiropractic care. At this powerful and inspiring 2-day event, you and your team will discover exactly what is working today in the conversion process. New patients starting care and staying under care. Building your practice volume and your revenue. Learn the most cutting-edge communications that drive more conversions, unbelievable retention, and incredible referral. This is the best bang for your buck in training all year. Register your team at theremarkablepractice.com or find the link in the show notes below. Join us for a jam-packed 2 full days of intensive training for chiropractic teams that want to grow their practice and increase their profit. June 6th and 7th in Orlando, Florida, and June 27th and 28th in beautiful Sydney, Australia.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.